Witcher 3 is a decade old, the snipping tool is becoming the best thing about Windows, and the B770 is still on its way. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. We're gonna start off with a bit of news that's probably gonna make you feel a little bit more geriatric than you did going into this episode, and that is the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt hit its 10-year anniversary, a decade old, just last week, and to commemorate that, Xbox is launching some special edition Witcher 3 controllers that you can could have gotten in regular or the series Elite controllers that are just stunning and beautiful, and honestly, I'm a bit disappointed that I found out about this after they were already sold out over on Xbox's website. So CD Projekt Red and Microsoft teaming up to celebrate everything that's happened in the last decade since this game came out. I mostly want to report on it because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that The Witcher 3 did drop. It being a decade-old game really changes my perspective on what 10-year-old games were and are and currently will be. For some reason in my head, 10 years ago is still Final Fantasy X. It turns out that's 25 years ago. It's not quite the same amount of time that's passed, a quarter of a century instead of just a decade. I just wanted to share that with you because I had the revelation while we were traveling in Taiwan last week when May 18th rolled around, which was the official anniversary of The Witcher 3. And you know what else happened while we were in Taiwan? We use today's video sponsor.
While we're back home by the time you're seeing this, we are actually over in Taiwan for Computex when we're recording this. And as someone who is doing content creation on the go and staying in touch with not only my family back home, but with sponsors we have to work with and our other employees, I know the importance of reliable service while you travel. Lucky for us, today's sponsor, Fonus, was there for us on this year's trip. Fonus is a super easy to set up global wireless provider that offers unlimited data, calls, and text in over 100 countries. With Fonus, you never have to worry about roaming or long distance fees while you use your phone abroad. So when Kyler calls me to tell me he locked himself out of the apartment we're staying in, I can quickly answer to tell him he shouldn't have forgotten his key, all without worrying about getting a text from my cell provider later in the day about how I've gone over my roaming limit and they want money for it. Fonus makes it easy by providing monthly plans that can be activated anywhere by anyone at any time. So even if you get to your destination and find communicating hard, you can set up Fonus right then and enjoy the rest of your trip. Oh, and because Fonus is plan-based, you also have no limits for how long you can travel, whether it's a few days across the ocean for a business trip or a month-long tour of a continent. Fonus has you covered. Try Fonus for yourself today via the link in the description below. Huge thanks to Fonus for sponsoring today's video.
Well, I don't know where this next person resides. Maybe they can use Fonus while they travel. Maybe they probably won't be doing a whole lot of traveling considering the fact that they decided to go ahead and liquid cool their Steam Deck. Now, this is the first time I've been talking about custom mods to a Steam Deck in quite some time. We put those adventures behind us and I just use the Steam Deck as a regular handheld travel device at this point, not as some monstrosity to be Frankenstein to my will. But that's exactly what 2GGBoy7 over on Reddit decided to do with them building a 240mm custom water loop for their Steam Deck and overclocking this and undervolting it to make it faster. Now, this is notable for a couple reasons. Number one, it gets rid of the whole point of the Steam Deck, which is to be gaming on the go, but it's also nice to see that they did use a program to actually push it to a higher wattage limit from 15 watts up to 27. But then also, when you look at this, it's kind of an amusing little mod that they've done because yes, you have the CPU water block that's on the back, and they use some flexible tubing to come off of the block, but then they use hardline tubing to go from the radiator to the reservoir block. And so 2/3 of the tubing is a soft tubing, and then 1/3 is a hardline curve, which just, it looks good. It did a great job there, but also the setup that they need in order to make this a non-portable device with all of the USB additions as well as powering all the fans. It's an intriguing little mod that they did. Obviously not recommended if you're looking to take the Steam Deck anywhere with you, but you know, there could potentially be the option if somebody wanted to take this a little bit further where you could like set up quick release connectors on the liquid cooler to make it so that you could disconnect it but still have like some sort of fan that's blowing over the CPU water block so that you're getting at least enough cooling for 15 watts while you're on the go, and do kind of like a both and situation. That would require a little bit of engineering, maybe maybe we might pick up our Steam Deck hacking days again. We'll see how that goes. And we'll see if Microsoft continues to improve a lot of the tools that they have. They've been shoving AI into everything. You got recall, you got AI being interjected into Notepad, but silently, one of the best things that Microsoft's been updating is their snipping tool, with the latest thing being added in the Windows Insider build is that you can use it as a color picker. You can actually select colors that are on your desktop and either get the hex, RGB, or HSL values for those colors. This is tremendously helpful for anybody who works in color spaces or is just trying to get a color that's directly on their desktop. It's a helpful little tool that's just going to be baked in, but it's not the only improvement that's come to the snipping tool in recent days. Microsoft has also made it so that there's an automatic cropping tool that allows you to get better screenshots of your display while using the snipping tool. And then they also have a GIF exporter so that you can create either low or high quality GIFs from the snipping tool itself, in case that's something that interests you. All of this is currently in the insider build. It hasn't made its way yet to the public releases, but Microsoft definitely beefing up what's going on with their snipping tool setup. And Reece better beef up the deals. I want to see more savings, more deals, more ingredients.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. And here's the deals. Starting off today, we have the Logitech G433 with the 7.1 surround sound wired gaming headset going for only $54.99, making it $25 off. But then next up, we have the Zellman Chronex ATX case and 3 of their 120mm Infinity Mirror ARGB fans going for a very nice price of $69.95, making it just over $10 off. And then lastly, we have one of my favorites, the Elgato Wave 3 USB microphone going for $119.99, making it $30 off. I actually have one in the background over there next to my other setup, but I guess you can't really see it with the black sound panels, but it's there. I love the thing. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I hand you back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, turns out that when you hire a CEO, you get a heck of a deal because they don't do any of the work. CEOs don't want to work anymore, and you'll still get the work done because AI is quickly replacing them at their own behest. For the second time in the last couple of days, a CEO has used their AI avatar to release the company's earnings report. Now, the first notable one happened with Klarna. This was actually the second time that it's used an AI avatar to divulge important information to its shareholders using an AI avatar, and Klarna has been noted for how it's been using AI to go on a hiring freeze, but then realized that that potentially is actually making their company worse, and so they've re-upped actually hiring humans. But the newest one, which actually makes a little bit more sense, is Zoom used an AI avatar of the CEO to divulge again what is one of the most important aspects of a CEO's job, and that is addressing the public and justifying your company's establishment and why people should invest with you as a publicly traded company and your duty to your shareholders and how you're connected with them. No better task for a CEO to do and replace with something that does it way worse. If you watch these videos, they're not there yet, that's for sure. But additionally, with Zoom, one of the reasons they did that is because they're going to be releasing an AI avatar companion that can take meetings for you so you don't ever have to attend. This is something that they've been talking about for a while. Zoom wants to replace everything that they're doing with AI so that nobody is interacting anymore and it's just AI avatars talking to AI avatars so that you never have to participate in a meeting. You never have to waste your time with any of that stuff. Your AI will just know exactly what you would say in that situation and will not screw up on your behalf. And you can definitely believe that the other AI avatar it's talking to is also going to know what it's talking about. And there's going to be no discontinuity whatsoever. But also one of the humorous facts about this is, yeah, Klarna used an AI avatar to deliver its earnings, which were not good. They doubled their losses in the first quarter, and they're not quite ready to IPO yet, especially as they've been doing buy now, pay later for things like fast food with DoorDash and other places. It looks like people are defaulting on those loans at a record high rate, and maybe Klarna's business model could use a personal touch for somebody to think about and work on. And hopefully that's exactly what the CEO is doing with all of the time he's saving by not addressing the shareholders who he has a legal and fiduciary responsibility to. And Intel doesn't have any responsibility to me, fiduciary, GPU or otherwise, but we do get excited when when there's information coming out about another Battlemage graphics card. Now, this is gonna just be part of the story, right? People have been wanting a high-end Battlemage card since the A770 came out. There was rumors that it got canceled 2+ years ago, and then there was rumors that it got uncanceled or it was never canceled, Intel saying that themselves that they were gonna release it. We got the B580 with no word of a higher-end graphics card, so that led people to believe that maybe it wasn't actually coming. Then some people started looking and seeing that, yeah, there's actually a BG31 in the shipping manifest, and we actually might be able to get this graphics card. And then Intel started responding to things on Twitter saying, stay tuned, look at this, we're responding to people talking about the B770. And then Computex came and went, and while we did get a plethora of new Intel GPUs, including one with a Thunderbolt 5 connector, we got the dual B60 GPU that has 48 gigs of RAM and 2 GPU cores, as well as the 24 gig Battlemage Professional card. There was a lot to unveil, but no B770. However, multiple tech outlets talking to people at Computex, discussing it with sources that are close to Intel and their GPU production, have reassured that Battlemage is still coming. The Intel's little tweet explosion that they went on telling people to watch this space and hold out for a B770 is still likely to come. It's just happening to be about a year after the launch of the B580. That is Q4 at the end of this year. So that's the current report. B770 is not dead. Q4 2025 is the anticipated release date for that graphics card, in case you're looking for something that's hopefully a little bit more affordable, probably a 16 gig graphics card that delivers a little bit more performance than what you're getting out of the 9060 XT or 5060 Ti at hopefully a better price point. That's, again, what I'm hoping for. And I hope you guys left some comments in yesterday's episode of Hot News. Let's see what you had to say. Actually, you left a lot. And I'm gonna be a little snarky right now, okay? Because I saw so many of these comments, and I need answers here, because normally when there's just one comment responding to one aspect of what I said in Hot News, you know, I can just assume that's a personal opinion. But when people all over start saying the same opinion that I've never heard before in such a large group of people, I have to wonder, which YouTuber are you referencing? Who planted this thought in your head? Because this was never a discussion point prior to me seeing it yesterday. Maybe it's been cropping up over the last few days / weeks, but who told you this? Who made you think this way? Who set this line of reasoning? Because we got Gurguru saying the main issue people are having with the 8 versus 16 gigabyte is the poor indication of which you're purchasing, especially if you're buying a pre-built. People are upset that the GPUs have the same name. What? I've not heard that. We've been doing this for ages. What are you talking about? The RX 480 and 580, nobody had a problem with that. The 570 and the 470, nobody had a problem with that. What are we referring to here? That there's a problem with the cards being called the same name, even though they have 2 different VRAM amounts? That's been the case for like a decade. We've been doing this. This hasn't never been a problem before. This has never been a talking point, but there's been so many people in the comments, like Jay Wakol saying the problem is the naming. If you want 8 and 16, they should just be called something different. And the 9060 8 gig and the 9060 XT 16 gig. Who started this? Which YouTuber started this? Who put this line of thinking into everybody's head? I don't see a problem with it. I think people are wise enough to discern between VRAM amounts, and the reason they're called the same thing and not having 2 distinguishing names is because they're the same GPU core. This has been the case for ages. The 474 gig and the 478 gig were the same card with 2 different VRAM amounts. That was the only thing that separated them, was the VRAM amount. They're the same card, and the reason we're not getting a 9060 8 gig along with the 9060 XT 8 gig and 9060 XT 16 gig is because there is a 9060 8 gig that's going to be coming out, and that's going to be worse. It's going to be a slower graphics card than the 9060 XT 8 gig. So I just, where did this, like, there's also that tweet that went around of like people saying that the box art on the Switch and Switch 2 is too close together, and the common response is there's a giant 2 on the box to indicate which one's the new one. 8 and 16 gigs of VRAM, people can discern that. Why do we think so little of people who are purchasing things? People can see the difference in the numbers and discern it. I really don't have so little faith in the consumer to say that that is where we're getting mixed up here in 2025, especially since this has never been a problem before. The only place I've ever railed against this being a problem is with NVIDIA's way of doing it, which has been worse. Not the 4060 Ti and 5060 Ti, because those were sensible. Same GPU core, different VRAM amounts. It was the GTX 1060, that little sneaky piece of crap, where the GTX 1063 gig and the GTX 1066 gig had 2 different cores. Well, I mean, they were technically the same core, like whatever the architecture naming was, like P107 or whatever the heck. I can't firmly remember, but they had 2 different core amounts. They had different amounts of CUDA cores and they had different amounts of VRAM. The 1063 gig and the 1066 gig were 2 different graphics cards. You were getting a worse experience on the 1063 gig besides the VRAM amount. It was actually just a worse card. But then the 1065 gig versus the 1066 gig, as far as I remember, those had the same VRAM amounts. That's a bit more excusable. You can discern the difference there. But I didn't have a problem with the GTX 960 where there was a 2 and 4 gigabyte amount. This has been a practice for so long. Why are people upset about this now? It's not. Who taught you this? Who set this talking point? Who are we regurgitating? I'm curious. Now, I think the bigger problem when it comes to GPU naming conventions is actually in the mobile side of things where NVIDIA screws over people. I didn't include it in this episode of Hot News, but we've got details on the RTX 5050 mobile GPU, and there's 5 different versions of that thing, but the way that used to be distinguished was slightly better. Like you had the GTX whatever, Max Q and Max P. Those that distinguish 2 different power profiles and 2 different performance levels. The nomenclature being added on the end is a totally fine way to distinguish the difference between them. Like, are we really getting upset that a 1440p monitor is 144 hertz or 240 hertz, but people can't tell the difference because they look the same otherwise? No, we don't do that. So it's the same thing with the GPU, but when it comes to the mobile stuff, you have different power profiles that are no longer disclosed easily. You can't find them on the product name. You have to go digging deep in a product spec sheet to find out, did I get the 115 watt version of this GPU, or am I getting the 55 watt version of this GPU, where I'm gonna get 2 completely fundamentally different experiences out of what is essentially the same graphics card. Those are the problems we have here when the naming actually doesn't imply the same performance level, whereas with the 9060 XT, the same performance level is there, provided you're not capping out the VRAM. If you use the card in a game that only requires 4 gigabytes of VRAM, you should not, in theory, get better performance out of the 16 gig than you do out of the 8 gig because they have the same GPU core. The VRAM amount is just that. It's a VRAM difference. Anyways, that's the end of my snark. Let me know who taught you this. I don't have a problem with the person that clearly set this talking point for the internet at large at this point. I think there's, room for open discussion where I can have a healthy disagreement, but I'm just shocked at the amount of people saying that this is a problem when I've never heard this before. This wasn't even brought up as a talking point for the 5060 Ti that launched a couple weeks ago. I'm just only now seeing it with the 9060 XT. This is like, it popped up out of nowhere. And then a no-nobody saying, that's some crazy timing regarding the GTX 970 info. Just over the holiday weekend, I finally upgraded my 10 plus year old PC that has a 970. Swapped it for a 9070 XT and couldn't be happier now that I can finally start Expedition 33. Congrats on 100% as well, Brett. I'm excited for you. Oh man, I'm so excited for people who are starting to play Expedition 33. I'm absolutely loving that game. I enjoy it. And then Stakes is High saying, it's almost June, but I can't see any other game being released this year coming anywhere close to Expedition 33. Easiest GOTY call ever. I would like to say that, but Elden Ring Night Rain comes out tomorrow, and the fact that they even thought to include the DLC into the Game of the Year conversation last year was frustrating in and of itself. So I could see Night Rain, even if it doesn't match the quality of the original Elden Ring or even match the quality of Expedition 33, just be put into the Game of the Year conversation no matter what. I leave space for there being games that I'm not necessarily hyped for. I mean, it was a month ago, 2 months ago, I was saying that there is no game in 2025 I'm excited for. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was not on my radar. I just did not, I knew about it, like I'd seen trailers, but I wasn't anticipating it coming out, and it absolutely rocked my world. It took my life by storm, and I can't say enough good things about it. So I'll leave space for the latter half of 2025 to potentially deliver me another game that could do that. But it's my game of the year for sure. For right now. Expedition 33 is so good. And then we got Rad Rex saying, I still remember when you did the extremely remote coverage of CES, sponsored by the Raging Zebras or something like that. We weren't sponsored. We actually had no sponsors, which is one of the reasons we didn't go to CES, but we were in South Africa, and they weren't Raging Zebras. They were just normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill zebras that you could go find at the local wildlife reserve in Pretoria. They they were just chilling. We liked filming because it was like a 7-minute drive from our office, so we could get some like nice wildlife scenery in contrast to the garbage wasteland that is Las Vegas that I don't like going to CES. I've gone twice now, and every year has been bad. Not the event, but just being in Vegas is not something that I enjoy in the slightest. I love Computex, I love going to Taipei. Phenomenal time every time I go there. Can't wait to go back next year. If I never have to go back to Vegas, it would be too soon. So maybe we'll have more remote coverage of CES, you know, as the transition back to South Africa happens. I'm not quite sure what our plans will be for that kind of stuff. Computex, I'll still go to that. I'm actually going to be closer when I live in South Africa, but CES will be a little bit more difficult. Maybe we'll just send Kyler and Michael, or if we, you know, expand the US team a little bit more. Not quite sure how that's all going to play out. It'll be an evolving situation as it happens. We have until January to figure that out. So maybe there will be zebras, maybe there won't be. We'll see. And I'll see you back here for more of the Haas Tech News tomorrow, hopefully.